Now we're excited to move into the lightning talks from the tech teams who focused on these challenges. First, I'll hand it over to Ryan and Linda from CitiVentures to kick us off. Over to you all.
Hi, I'm Ryan Harper.
Hi, I'm Linda G.
We are both product managers at CitiVentures, which is a part of Citibank, and today we'll be talking about City Builder. City Builder is a free platform that makes it easy for investment professionals to find tax-advantaged programs, funds, and entities that support community development opportunities. City Builder uses data to help investors find development projects by location, socioeconomic need, or tax incentive, all to enable communities to become stronger and better for everyone. We initially launched City Builder in 2019 at the Opportunity Projects Demo Day. And over the last year, we have expanded the platform, so it now includes every single census tract in the United States. Our core users are investors who want to make a positive impact with their investments, as well as community advocates who want to make sure that their communities are receiving the types of investments that would be most helpful. We have expanded City Builder to now include information about opportunity zones, low-income housing tax credits, and new markets tax credits. Additionally, we have added projects that are available in opportunity zones as investments that are sourced directly from municipal prospectuses, as well as information about community development entities and qualified opportunity funds.
We first launched City Builder with a focus on opportunity zones, and only a quarter of opportunity zones are in rural areas. As we expanded our geographic coverage, we wanted to be thoughtful about representing challenges that are unique to rural communities. Through our user research interviews in the top sprint, we've uncovered a few themes. Firstly, internet access infrastructure is essential to equalizing economic opportunity these days. Next, quality of life indicators can both communicate strengths and needs and can be applied to both rural and urban areas. And lastly, we can measure equity within and between communities through social determinants, such as cultural fulfillment and health. As a first step, we've added internet coverage data from the FCC's Form 477 database, which is data reported by internet providers on the areas that they serve or don't serve. This will allow our investor audience to filter for census tracts that are in need of infrastructure and can inform investments in providing internet access.
We've also added the CDC's Social Vulnerability Index so that investors can get a sense of what communities are particularly vulnerable to external stresses, such as disease outbreaks and human-caused disasters. During the Opportunity Project Sprint this year, we also heard from user advocates that it was really important to provide a sense of what rural communities are like so that investors can better understand what drives these communities. As part of that, we've added museums and libraries to City Builder so that investors can come in and see, for example, that a project is close to a public library or a series of museums.
Thank you all for your time today. We're so grateful to the Opportunity Project team for facilitating another great sprint and bringing together experts to help us better serve communities in the United States. Additionally, we appreciate all of the support from the problem statement sponsors at the Environmental Protection Agency, and particularly the support of Alexis Rourke and Linda Hartwell. We've received a lot of guidance on product development from our product advisor, Roman Dumiak. We're also grateful to have received the time and expertise from interviews with the Acadiana Planning Commission, the Rural Community Assistance Partnership, and the USDA Rural Development Office. Their feedback has been incredibly helpful in refining our thinking around our planned enhancements. You can reach us anytime with feedback or questions at our emails listed here. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda and Ryan. It's great to see how you're working on your product and to see how it's matured from last year's sprint on opportunity zones. Next, I'll hand it over to Matt from Center on Rural Innovation to talk about their approach to this challenge. Over to you.
We're delighted to be here and to be a part of the Top Challenge. And we're going to talk today about the Tech Talent Tracker that we have put together. I'm Matt Dunn. I'm the Executive Director and founder of the Center on Rural Innovation, which is an action tank that is dedicated to closing the rural opportunity gap and make sure that there is a strong economy in rural America based on technology jobs and entrepreneurship. The reason that the Center on Rural Innovation was founded was because of the very, very unequal recovery from the 2008 recession, driven by automation, globalization, and the decline of entrepreneurship in rural places. Rural and urban areas had a fundamentally different experience after that economic impact, where urban places came roaring back. But even as of January of 2020, a majority of rural counties had not even gotten back to their 2007 levels. And as we all know, COVID hit everyone and particularly hit rural places. And that difference in recovery came from the difference in how jobs were created coming out of that recession. Because automation and globalization created a lot of jobs in America, but also removed a lot. The problem is that it almost exclusively created jobs in urban places while removing them in rural. So that as of the beginning of this year, only 5% of tech workers live in rural America, even though rural America accounts for 15% of the total workforce. So the challenge in trying to address this are many, but one of them is that there isn't great data on technology talent and capacity in rural places. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One is that rural data is difficult to find. It has not been something that's been prioritized, and it doesn't usually have a lot of market value. Rural leaders often are missing the resources to be able to leverage that data and understand in the context, because as their economies have struggled, they've been cutting back on that core capacity and economic development. And also, technologists who live in rural places are not always obvious. They're sometimes off in the hills doing their own thing, and they don't even know about each other, much less having an understanding. So our solution was trying to capture this moment into providing better data to rural economic development specialists. The fact is that computer and IT jobs are going to continue to grow at a rapid rate, and COVID and remote work has allowed for an opening of the aperture for large tech employers to look to remote workers anywhere. We've actually seen a lot of technologists moving to rural places. And so we wanted to create a tech talent tracker that would allow people to understand what's out there, who's out there, and how to bring them together. It allows for people to surface insights quickly by selecting on a specific county. You can compare that to other counties and benchmark the position that you're in terms of tech talent in your particular region. And we've built it to be able to share. So that you can not only share it on a web platform, but it has reports that would work well, whether it was for a SEDS report or other kinds of documents as you're making the case, both locally and nationally, for building a tech ecosystem in your community. And moving forward, we are already at work to make the tech talent tracker better. We're compiling and curating new data sources as they are made available. We're creating a lot of different reporting features, especially as we get feedback from economic development specialists on the ground who we want to be using this. And we're also hoping to add other things like algorithmic insights to be able to actually predict where there's more tech capacity and where people will be moving as they're looking for new places to bring their talents. So that's the Tech Talent Tracker from the Center on Rural Innovation, and we're excited to be a part of this competition.
Thanks, Matt. It's amazing to see how you've been tackling this challenge for many years already, and how you've joined multiple top sprints to further this work. Next, I'll hand it over to Michelle from Columbia University, who participated in this year's university sprint.
Hi, I'm Michelle Z, and I'm here to share our story with you. The Columbia University Tech team developed our story to support rural stories with relevant, digestible data to help economic development efforts in small communities. We began the process by getting to know rural communities and their needs. Through our interviews with user advocates, we found that rural communities are diverse in their assets and in their challenges. Among rural communities that are facing economic challenges, many lack a comprehensive economic development strategy or the resources to make their economic development goals happen. One common thread among the rural communities is that their local leaders know their areas in detail and can describe their strengths and weaknesses through stories. But these leaders often wear many hats and most are constrained for time. We heard that there's a need for a product that brings together data to support rural community leaders in their economic development work. One of these communities is Manistee County, Michigan. As a pilot project, we worked with Mark Miller, Manistee's Economic Development Director, to understand our end users' needs and build our story's product features. Manistee is a rural community located along Lake Michigan. Their economic development focus is in bringing in more small businesses, affordable housing, and year-round residents to maintain their population. Mark had told us that he would love to use more data in his economic development work, but he simply does not have the time to find relevant data, sort through them, visualize them, then put them all together for each conversation that he has with a potential investor. This is why we developed our story, to help rural communities like Manistee, Michigan, to achieve their goals by telling their stories in a way that's supported by relevant data, so that community leaders can work more efficiently and be most effective at communicating with diverse stakeholders. Our story is the one place to find data that illustrates the strengths or challenges that are especially relevant to small rural communities. These data indicators allow local leaders to use storytelling and data together to create a stronger, more sustainable community. Our story uses publicly available data to create indicators that are especially chosen for rural communities, and the data is visualized with explanations to be quickly understood. They are also sorted into dashboards targeted towards 3 categories of stakeholders: residents, businesses, and real estate developers. These were the groups of audiences that we heard again and again are very important for sustainable economic development in small communities. Attracting residents to communities that are seeing a population decline and assessing quality of life for its existing residents. More businesses to provide jobs and increase community vibrancy, and developers to provide the housing and commercial properties needed for quality work and life. Together, these 3 groups are the trifecta that culminates in sustainable economic development for small communities. With our story, an end user like Mark from Manistee can quickly integrate economic and demographic data in telling Manistee's story to each business or developer who is interested in investing there. Looking towards the future, our story will be building more data indicators and interactive features. We're currently looking for funding to sustain continued development of the product for launch in May 2021 and recruiting more communities like Manistee for user feedback, so that our story can provide the greatest value in helping small rural communities achieve their economic development goals. For more information or to collaborate, our story can be found on Instagram at ourstorytool and via email at ourstorytool@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening to our story.
Thank you, Michelle. It's great to see how your product addresses the needs of those 3 distinct end users and provides paths for each of them to get the information they need to tell their stories. Thanks for your work. Now we'll hear from Saloni and Surekha from Syracuse University to talk about their approach to this challenge from a small business perspective.
Hello everyone, we are the Syracuse University Tech team and we are here to present our product MAINE business resources that we developed to facilitate rural economic development. We want to depict our user journey in the form of a dialogue between a small business owner and a local business agency.
Okay, so here we go. Hi Surekha, welcome to the Small Business Development Center. How can I help you?
Thank you, Saloni. After moving here to this town, I began to doubt whether a business like what I have in mind could actually succeed here. But that's why I came to see you. Seems like the Small Business Development Center is exactly where I need to start. You see, I want to help people with their computer systems, like a computer consultant. My brother is just not convinced though. He thinks Maine might not be a good place to start a business.
Well, that isn't the case. Actually, companies with fewer than 500 employees made up 3/5 of Maine's whole private workforce as of just a few years ago, according to the US Census Bureau. We find that Maine's small businesses will thrive because their communities support them, and so do other businesses around them. Small businesses are favored in Maine because they help stimulate economic growth by providing employment opportunities to people who may not be employable by larger corporations. Larger businesses also often benefit from small businesses within the same local community. And rural areas have built in advantages for creating certain kinds of businesses, and technological advances make it possible for rural businesses to reach across the country without having to sacrifice a rural lifestyle.
Well, that is certainly good to know. Wait till my brother hears all about that. But how would I understand where my customers might be, or even what are the other types of businesses around mine I could work with? I mean, as a business owner, where do I get information like this? It isn't easy to just go around meeting people and finding things about the county I am in, or even the customers that I might have. I'm trying to get a business started, loans and business plans. That's going to be enough of a problem. So where am I going to find the time and energy for all of this?
So, hey, you don't need to worry about that. We have just the thing that you might need. So, it's a website, and built into it is a set of complete information about the businesses in every county. It can even advise you about business plans and resources.
A website for everything? You're kidding me. Where did that come from?
So, it has been developed to help small businesses succeed. After talking with a lot of stakeholders in rural areas, it was found that it isn't easy to find all the information about market potential and business advice. It also helps to study the various areas of the state to know how to best advise entrepreneurs. It can be used to plan out business strategies as well.
Well, that's great, but how does it work?
So the website has two parts. First, a platform for viewing relevant data about businesses in different counties. It gives a lot of information about the types of businesses that are around you. The size of the bubble corresponds to the quantity of businesses in that category. So, see, you can go from county to county and get a view of business markets that are around you. And all of this information has been taken from the open source census data.
Wow, I can really use this. I can see that it'll definitely help me grow my business for sure. But now the problem with this is that I need to figure out what comes next. Services, advertising, loans. And if I need a loan, don't I need a business plan for the bank?
Well, it has a business advising tool built right in the form of a chatbot. So look here, you just answer a few questions about your current business status, like the phase you're in right now. And then the advisor lets you know not only what to do next, but gives you resource links to find the information forms and all that you might need.
That's really amazing. Now I don't have to Google all of that stuff. Thank you, Saloni.
Well, how are you planning to convince your brother then now?
Well, no problem at all. I have a website now for that.
So you see here how the product brings value to both a small business owner's journey as well as it helps local agencies to promote these businesses and help people who reach out to them. Our journey in the top sprint has been really wonderful, and we're really proud of what product we've built as of now. And what comes next is adding more features to it, which includes consolidating data about businesses and helping them connect with each other. So that would foster community development and also partnering with local agencies to widen the reach for the product. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you, Saloni and Sarika. Your platform really empowers small business leaders to get the information they need to start and grow their business. So thank you so much for your hard work during the sprint. Now we'll hear a little bit more from teams that focused on the disaster spending problem statement. I'll first hand it over to Joe from Urban Footprint to talk about their unique approach to this challenge.
I'm Joe DiStefano, CEO and co-founder of Urban Footprint. I'm going to give you a quick tour of Urban Footprint and highlight a few ways it's being used by governments and enterprises to address critical challenges in urban transformation and policy, community resilience, hazard and climate risk, and COVID response. I want to start by talking a little bit about what it means for a community to be resilient. One definition is the ability of a community to withstand social, economic, health, and natural disaster and climate shocks. A resilient community should be able to experience one of these shocks without putting fundamental human needs at risk. Core needs such as food and housing and energy and mobility and the access to opportunity. It turns out it's actually rather difficult for us as a society to determine the most effective ways to improve the resilience of these systems in real communities on the ground. This has become even more apparent now that COVID is shining an all too bright light on the interlocking social, economic, and health crises that are threatening to destabilize whole communities today. To address this challenge requires a deep data-driven understanding of communities and the impacts of interventions within them. We built Urban Footprint as an urban intelligence platform that seeks to dramatically streamline this understanding and deliver targeted insight into the hands of public and private sector urban planners and engineers, federal and state and local agencies, and enterprises across the energy, mobility, healthcare, finance, and academic sectors. We help some of the largest institutions in the world assess risk, understand markets, and make better decisions. We spent years building a comprehensive nationwide platform that allows anyone to assess conditions for any US location. The platform distills a complex fabric of land use, infrastructure, environmental, natural hazard, and socioeconomic factors into actionable insights at national, state, city, and neighborhood scales. The platform is being actively deployed by agencies and communities struggling to address the health and economic impacts of the COVID-19 crisis. It's informing relief deployment and policy development by state and local actors in Louisiana and California. Data insights help agencies and relief providers understand the scope, scale, and distribution of health and economic risk across communities. The platform is used to evaluate statewide indicators of economic stress and target local relief where it's needed most. A dynamic eviction risk index maps the scale and distribution of rental risk across states, counties, and communities in the United States. Urban Footprint's urban and community data cores are combined with unemployment and economic activity data to provide a critical view of the scale of rental risk at all levels, and critically, how risk is distributed across the landscape. This can be used to assess and compare the resource and other needs across states or counties, and even within counties. This map highlights where rental risk intersects with the most economically vulnerable communities in Louisiana, those where households are very unlikely to have a safety net or savings to stave off eviction and homelessness. Our foreclosure index leverages federal, state, and commercial data sets to map the scale and distribution of mortgage default risk across all US markets. Like with the eviction risk index, risk is mapped and enumerated and consistently updated to inform policy and intervention. Now, targeted insights built from urban, environmental, and community data cores are also being deployed to support energy utilities and agencies challenged with prioritizing asset hardening and other investments to address climate and community risks, which are becoming increasingly apparent. Let's hone in on heat waves, which have quickly emerged as a top threat across the Western US. We start by making critical heat wave data and projections accessible to more actors across a utility. A heat wave index then breaks down key risk factors and serves as a normalized screen that can be used to compare heat wave risk across an area or a service territory. A community vulnerability index, which incorporates detailed urban, sociodemographic, and health conditions data, allows for a consistent scan and ranking of the relative vulnerability of communities to heat wave events. Bringing these two indices together into a composite heat wave vulnerability index allows us to hone in on places where the highest climate risks and community vulnerability intersect. And then finally, detailed grid asset data can be mapped, ranked, and prioritized for hardening or investment based on the heat wave vulnerability index. Now, these are just a couple examples of how Urban Footprint helps organizations cut through the noise to plan better, invest better, adapt better, and build a more resilient future.
Thank you, Joe. It's really great to see the results of your mapping approach, especially focusing on food insecurity and disaster response. Thank you so much for your hard work. Up next, we'll hear from Marie and Don from Alteryx about their approach. Over to you all.
Hello everyone, Tech Team Alteryx and Reveal Global Consulting here. Dawn and I are pleased to share with you our experience working on our first ever opportunity project. We are working on the problem statement, tracking the impact of disaster relief funding. We chose this topic mostly because we have shared experience with other federal and state organizations, and we see firsthand all of the challenges that government and non-government agencies share with collecting vast amounts of data, shifting through that data to find meaningful insights to go ahead and share with multiple stakeholders. Our solution is a consolidated dashboard available to various stakeholders. On the left-hand side, you see the dashboard that the end user would interact with. They would drill down by the different types of disasters, such as a fire or hurricane or some severe storms. They would be able to even drill down into a specific disaster. In this case, you're seeing what we did for our MVP. It is a dashboard for the California wildfires of 2017. There are key performance indicators such as unemployment rate, rents, and social economic variables also. Users would be able to explore the difference between areas impacted by a disaster and non-impacted by the disaster. On the right-hand side, you see our novel approach to the challenge. We incorporated aerial imagery and a change detection algorithm to measure meaningful spending towards the recovery efforts and mitigation efforts. How we see users benefiting from these solutions include this easy-to-use dashboards that provides the insights to many different types of indicators in a consolidated area. It would help answer questions for users like, did the funding provide the desired effect? And with the addition of additional state and local data, they could go ahead and use this to gain additional insights and use it for tracking on various project spending initiatives. As you can see, there was no shortage of data for us to use. In this case, we used data sets from FEMA and HUD and census data, to name a few, along with the image files. We did this internally to help us answer the following questions in developing the solution. Did the recovery efforts match the spending? Are there other indicators that would provide additional insights to the stakeholders? And a key finding for the project team was that not all of the data sets provided the same applicability to the different types of disasters. So we will be using that information that we gained from the initial pilot and concept to go ahead and incorporate that into future releases. What I'd like to do now is to turn it over to Dawn, who will talk about sustainability and what's next for our project.
Thanks, Marie. So what's next? We're at the point right now where we are evaluating the ideal value proposition for the solution for a scope of potential end users. For example, federal end users like OMB and FEMA, state level end users such as state emergency preparedness agencies, and even the commercial sector in terms of real estate and construction, insurance companies, and even hardware stores to help them better serve their customers, members, and constituents. So we're at the point right now where we are collecting actively data and input from end users who would be potentially using the solution at these various levels to understand what's available to them currently, what is not, what do they need, and what would they like to have to understand what that ideal solution looks like, and then further enhance and refine what we're doing to make it optimally valuable and ensure that it is easily accessible and easy to utilize. So in addition to which, we are then going to be sharing also about our team's experience with TOP. We had a tremendous experience from beginning to end. Our team enjoyed listening to the other teams and learning about their solutions, and that helped inform our thinking and how we approached our solution. We also learned a lot from the Census TOP team, and they were very supportive throughout the journey here. In addition, we learned about data sets that we weren't aware of and how valuable they could be. And we also enjoyed addressing very complex problems and understanding and being enlightened by how the many challenges that face states and governments and other stakeholders in addressing and recovering and mitigating from disasters. So we've also had the opportunity to collaborate with others, and those folks included people and education, nonprofits, also government, and our product advisors, which we're very grateful of. And they were readily accessible to us and gave us a lot of insights that we would not have been able to obtain elsewhere. So that has proved invaluable in terms of developing a solution that we feel is going to be, the most robust and helpful to our end users. So finally, I want to give a team shout out to the Reveal team and the Alteryx team, and also our product advisors. And also want to thank the people and the team at Census Innovation Labs. You guys were amazing. It's been an exciting experience. We wanted to particularly call out Tom Juarez and Colin Ford from Pew Trust, and also Sarah Kirkpatrick and Greg Forrester. They were really incredibly helpful and always accessible and very responsive. So I want to thank you, and also thanks for this opportunity to talk with you all today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn and Marie. Awesome to see the work that you're doing, especially to see how you've used AI and machine learning. And last but not least, we'll hear from Rahul from Baruch College on their approach to this challenge. Over to you, Rahul.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining Team Baruch College's presentation. $1.6 trillion, the highest amount in history, has been spent for the COVID-19 recovery. Yet no one knows clearly how this fund has changed society. My team became intrigued by the regional impact of federal spending in order to solve this question. We, however, realized that people could not have access to credible data sources or user-friendly platforms. We joined the US Census Opportunity Project to overcome such limitations. In doing so, we created a platform, publicfinanceinstitute.org. The platform investigates federal financial assistance and contracts using USA spending data and state and local spending using open data provided by various states and cities. The platform summarizes the funds allocation to the states, counties, and core-based statistical areas as defined by the Census Bureau. It also shows the distribution of funds to various stakeholders, such as nonprofits, higher education, or small businesses. We also combine the data with economic indicators, such as mobility patterns using Google data, consumer spending using credit and debit card transactions, housing values from Zillow, and some other indicators related to employment and education. We would encourage you to please check out the website and let us know if you have any suggestions. During the research, we found that states and localities had a relatively short time considering how to maximize federal funds effectively. This platform will guide appropriate disaster recovery procedures in public finance, especially useful in solving urgent questions of federal responses impact. To solve this top challenge together, we disseminate defined data sets. They are publicly available to download on our website. Specifically, our data and platform will support policymakers, academic and professional researchers, or nonprofits analyzing the fund's effectiveness. Public Finance Institute aims to enhance and promote the transparency of government entities. As a next step, we are working on a research project in which we look at the impact of federal spending on the economic recovery, largely from an academic perspective. We also plan to expand our research in other disasters related to climate change, natural disasters, etc. Our plan will help various stakeholders, as well as federal, state, and local governments to predict, plan, and execute future disaster spending based on robust data-backed research. Now, Professor Rahul Pathak will wrap up this presentation.
Thanks, Usak. And as Usak noted, we are still developing this platform to cover various aspects of disaster spending at not just the federal level, but also at the state and local level. In the dashboard, we have already included data from some cities such as New York City, Chicago, and major cities in California like LA and San Francisco. And we look forward to adding data from some more cities and local governments as it is becoming available in recent months. Data availability issues at the state and local level is a big challenge. But during the sprint, we have really benefited from consultations with several stakeholders from Office of Management and Budget, user advocates, including folks like Colin from Pew Charitable Trust that someone else also mentioned. And we really look forward to hearing from anyone who has any suggestions and would like to collaborate. We really thank the folks at the Census Bureau, a shout out to them, and user advocates who facilitated the sprint, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Rahul. Awesome to see the work your team has done and how it integrates federal data and visualizes it in different ways. Thank you. Thank you so much to all of the presenters, and thank you so much to all the teams that have worked really hard on these two challenges. It's been amazing working with you all and really incredible to see the outcomes of your hard work. So again, thank you to all of the people that have worked on these challenges. To our audience, we hope that you stick around to see more presentations and attend more sessions. And if you're interested in connecting directly with the tech teams, seeing live demos of their work, and becoming an end user of these products, feel free to head on over to the Live Demo Expo, and that will be at 2:45 p.m. Eastern, and you'll be able to connect directly with these teams one-on-one. Thanks so much, and looking forward to seeing you at more sessions.